Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Pryweller, Conference Director for Plastics News. I want to welcome you to the first in our Ask the Expert series at the 2020 Plastics Caps and Closures Conference. Our expert today is Breanna Herbert, Sustainability Lead at Orbis. Breanna will discuss how companies are repurposing plastic with the ocean in mind, as you saw from the video a minute ago. She will answer your questions after the presentation. Please send any questions to pnevents@crane.com, or if you're watching along on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, feel free to send questions through those platforms. With that, I will turn the presentation over to Breanna Herbert of Breanna, the floor is yours.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to share Orbis's Ocean in Mind program. We can head to the first slide of the presentation. And before we begin, I just want to give a brief overview of who we are at Orbis Corporation. So Orbis Corporation is a subsidiary of Menasha Corporation, and we really pride ourselves in being one of the longest privately owned companies in America. We have been family owned since 1849. So Orbis Corporation is the leading manufacturer for reusable packaging. We help companies from various different industries, such as the retail supply chain, the automotive supply chain, white goods, you name it, help move their products through the supply chain. And since we support various different industries, we do have a wide variety of reusable packaging available in different models and footprints. And we really are able to work closely with companies, provide the right packaging management solutions perfect for their applications and usages. So we can head to the second slide. So Orbis's Ocean in Mind program is heavily involved in the reusable packaging's everlasting cycle that plays a role in the circular economy. So I did want to touch on the broader piece of how reusable packaging can really support the circular economy and how it plays a role in what we like to call the 3 Rs. So the first R explains how by reducing expendables in the supply chain and replacing single-use packaging with reusables, we are ultimately reducing waste from one-use packaging systems by allowing the reusables to be constantly reused time and time after again. And this really accounts for the second R for reuse, which allows for supply chain cost savings, improved efficiencies, as well as optimized transportation. And then, of course, when the reusable packaging has reached the end of its service life, either by obsolescence or breakage, many different innovative materials can then be found to repurpose and start that whole process all over again, back into that circular economy concept. And Ocean Plastics is another great way just to take this concept of the circular reusable packaging system one step further. So we can head to the next slide to dive into Orbis's Ocean in Mind program. So one of the largest and one it can argue most important initiative being discussed at the moment is the discussion of ocean waste and what we can do about it, as well as its global effects its role has and plays on our environment. It can actually be estimated that anywhere between 8 to 12 million metric tons of plastic waste is actually entering our ocean each and every year. So really the next few years and the actions that we can take and be a part of really can shape the type of positive impacts we can make to our generations and our world to come. Orbis being a manufacturer in reusable plastic packaging, we recognize that we have the power to be a part of this change and incorporate innovative plastic material back into our packaging to really help the circular economy. And one of these innovative materials is ocean plastic itself, specifically ocean-bound material. So ocean-bound material is defined as plastic that is found anywhere within 200 kilometers from major waterways. This can account for rivers, lakes, and then typically beaches of oceans where the plastic is at risk of entering our oceans and ultimately harming our environment. So this Ocean in Mind program that utilizes that ocean-bound material is being taken a step further in order to reduce that large sum of plastic entering the ocean and preventing it from even having the chance to cause the negative impacts we are seeing from the ocean waste. I do want to point out one thing to note is the difference between ocean-bound and then ocean waste plastic. So ocean waste plastic is water-based, whereas ocean-bound plastic is land-based and found directly on major waterways. So Orbis's Ocean and Mines program's mission is to reduce ocean plastic pollution by using ocean-bound plastic and designing innovative, sustainable, reusable packaging solutions to repurpose ocean-bound plastic waste. And I think that when taking into consideration the benefits of this program, not only is it impactful for us as Orbis, being a manufacturer of plastic, looking for innovative material streams, but also for companies Orbis provides packaging for and helping with their own sustainability goals and increasing their own green initiatives, as well as help provide that sustainable success story. Again, reusable plastic packaging offers the capabilities to allow us to make an impact by recycling material in various different ways. And of course, Orbis recognizes that we are at the moment only playing a small role in removing a small portion of ocean-bound plastics, but we definitely are very excited to be a part of such a progressive movement. And we are hoping that, with the more companies who are looking to utilize ocean-bound packaging, the more impactful our Ocean and Mine program will be. So we can go to the next slide. So locations where organizations are collecting this material consist of the Philippines, Haiti, Indonesia, Brazil, and Egypt. And actually one of our most recent batches, a material we have received was specifically sourced from Haiti. And when looking at these locations and taking everything into consideration, they really are prime collection sites just due to their overall waste infrastructure, and then as well as just their location near major waterways and the ocean. And then when looking at the main causes for waste, we have waste that is inadequately disposed, and then we have littered waste. So countries with high income, we have proper waste infrastructures. So the main reasoning for waste is littering that you see on the streets or whatnot. However, for countries with low income, their waste is inadequately disposed, such as the type of mismanaged waste at these locations, and you can see on the photos on this slide. And really, waste is just not necessarily seen as waste as you or I may see it, and so it does get disposed of improperly. And then I also think it's good to note, and a huge benefit for these programs is the overall economic benefit as well. A lot of this material is collected from third world countries. So when taking into consideration that the collectors are paid market rates, they also receive bonuses to either work at different organizations at a higher level, or they can work as a collector collecting the plastic waste. And then in some regions, it can be estimated that between 20 to as much as 50% of income has rose in some of these regions. And then the overall education aspect of this is great too. It forces us to look back at these issues and understand if anything can be done upstream to prevent these issues, as well as spread awareness on how to dispose waste correctly. And we can move on to the next slide. All right, so the material that is collected at these sites is essentially material from mismanaged waste that I touched on briefly earlier, meaning it's not necessarily really coming from landfills or has been tampered in any way. And really, just from that mismanaged waste that we're seeing. And the largest contributing plastic waste is consumer plastic packaging. This can account for shampoo bottles, beverage packaging, plastic bags, and really the main 4 types of plastic is being collected, such as PET, HDPE, LDPE, and PP. Is all collected and sorted. And we'll kind of get into that collection and process onto the next slide. Specifically for Orbis's Ocean and Mine program, we are currently mainly utilizing HDPE ocean-bound material to be repurposed back into our packaging. So we can move on to the next slide for the Ocean and Mine process. So touching on the whole ocean and mine process and then relating it back to that continuous cycle that I had mentioned previously, the material is first collected near major coastlines by the local collectors who are paid to collect the waste. And then it is transported to a recycler And from there, the material is sorted by density. It's shredded into smaller bits. And then all of the material that is collected and sorted to be put back into packaging or any other types of uses, they all are sent to a material test lab. And there just to test the quality of the material, as well as just to understand its characteristics and how it'll run during the injection molded process when the material is being repurposed. And then from there, the material is pelletized, and then it is sent to an Orbis facility to go through the injection molded process to be repurposed back into our containers and to help companies move their products through the supply chain while keeping the ocean in mind. And then, of course, when the package reaches the end of its service life, we can start the whole process over again to support the circular economy. And we can do this through our plastic buyback program that we provide for all of the companies that we work with to provide packaging for, to help that continuous cycle with the 3 R's. And then I also would like to point out that the ocean-bound plastic used for our Ocean and Mine program, the lead time is a little bit more extensive than that of, the typical virgin resin or any other recycled contents that we may use. Because the material is coming from outside of the states, it takes a little bit longer to reach suppliers to go through the pelletization process and the testing process. But we are able to work closely with companies to understand, when they'll need the ocean and mine packaging, so we can plan ahead and work with our suppliers to get the material on time. So we can move on to the next slide. So overall, I think that this initiative is a great, impactful way to help support the reduction of ocean plastics back into the supply chain. This was actually originally brought to our attention by a furniture manufacturing company looking to incorporate ocean plastics into their supply chain, not only through packaging, but as well as repurposing back into some of their parts as well. The specific company had recently partnered with Next Wave, and we're overall increasing their sustainability initiatives to make their business model more green, as well as respond to some of their more customer asks to be more green. And through just the packaging initiative alone, we were able to repurpose ocean-bound plastics back into 100 of our bulk containers. And this ocean-bound plastic use equal to 3,875 pounds, which, is an equivalent to 30,000 milk jugs or 600,000 caps, just to put things into perspective. And then we are also beginning to implement this packaging system into the automotive supply chain, into our bulk containers and pallets. And really, so far, the companies that we have partnered with for this program are very passionate in helping reduce plastic waste that is at risk of entering our oceans. And what better way to conserve our resources than, repurposing the material back into reusable packaging to be a part of that circular economy. And I think that, Ocean Plastic Stream has so much to offer, not only in the packaging world to support the circular economy, but can also be utilized in different products as well. And so then with that, I would like to open the floor to any questions that anyone may have. Also, please feel free to follow Orbis Corporation on LinkedIn for more updates on this initiative, as well as feel free to connect with myself on LinkedIn as well.
Great. Thanks, Bree, for a terrific presentation. I learned a lot. Didn't realize the company had been around since 1849, right? Out the same family ownership through all that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
That's terrific. Well, as I said, to ask a question, you can send any questions to pnevents@crane.com, or if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, you can also use those platforms to send in your question. I'll start with one question here. How does the quality of the material of the pallet and the material itself compare to virgin or other recycled materials? What's the difference in quality with this?
Great question. So as I mentioned, all the material goes through different test lab to test the characteristics. And then here at Orbis, we have done extensive product testing with the ocean bound material into our packaging, and we've qualified it as a quality material to use in our manufacturing process, as well as a quality material to be used in our products as well. So we have done product testing, as well as before the material even reaches us, it has gone through different lab testing as well to test the quality of the material.
So it's comparable to what you find with the virgin material or another type of recycled material that's not from Oceanbound Plastics?
Correct.
Terrific. That's great. Curious too, who manages the material collection for this? How's that done? I know you mentioned going to Haiti and the Philippines and Brazil and other places. Anyway, it's far away. Do you have partners involved in this process that are collecting this material and even helping pelletize it or cleaning it and that kind of thing?
Right. So there's a lot of different nonprofit organizations that help facilitate the collection of the material. And then we, Orbis, as ourselves, we have qualified partners that facilitate the local collection in each region by bringing it back and testing it and whatnot. So a lot of the suppliers that we work with to get our resin are also the same suppliers that we work with to get the ocean-bound material as well.
So some of your partners are material suppliers that are involved in the process anyway, that are getting you the material. Is that correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
I see. So they're working overseas. Do they bring it back and it's clean and pelletized here, or does it come back in a form that's already ready to use for Orbis?
The cleaning process and the testing process and the pelletization process is all back here in the States.
I see. So they're just bringing the Oceanbound Plastics back to you, and all the work is done on your end. I imagine your partners here too. You're working with on that end.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
That's terrific. How available is the material? You mentioned some incredible numbers. What do you say? 8 to 12 million metric tons of plastic waste that goes into oceans every year. Is that right? What is the availability of this ocean-bound material that you're using with this from some of those areas?
I think quite honestly, the availability could be endless. We see so much plastic waste that's on our shorelines and whatnot. I think, the more thing to take into consideration is just the overall lead time. And I think that this ocean-bound material and any ocean plastics material is really on the upcoming rise to be utilized. So I think a lot of different companies are going to want to utilize this material. So I think that really the one thing just to be, considerate of and making sure to plan ahead from a standpoint is the lead time and making sure that we're able to work with some of our suppliers so we can get that material on time when companies need it for their packaging.
Great. Here's a question that came in from LinkedIn. Could you explain about HDPE recycling process? How is that used, and how easy is it to do that, to recycle HDPE?
Yeah, so I think that the recycling process is very similar to any other recycling process, such as PP or PET. Really just going through that same process that I had kind of laid out before, where, the material is shredded up into smaller forms from when it originally comes into, and then that shredded material is tested for quality and to understand its characteristics, and then it goes into the pelletization process to be injected back into our products. And if it's not using for reusable plastic packaging that Orbis has, then injected back into different forms of products as well.
So using similar recycling processes, I imagine mechanical processes to recycle this and pelletize it, right?
Correct.
Terrific. A question that came in through email. What percentage of ocean-bound recycled content are you able to incorporate back into your pallets?
So right now we are using 25% of ocean-bound plastic into all of our containers, and we are able to get other recycled content in there as well as virgin material. But right now we have tested up to 25% back into our bulk containers and pallets as well. So
from the ocean-bound plastic you're talking about?
Yep, correct. 25% of the ocean-bound plastic can be repurposed into our containers.
With other recycled materials you're putting in and added to that, is the percentage can it be a lot higher than that? If you're looking generally at recycled materials into the pallets?
We would take the ocean-bound material to kind of add into the other recycled contents that we're putting into our packaging as well.
Right. So using quite a bit of recycled content in some of your pallets from both sources, I guess, and whether it's other recycled material or whether it's ocean-bound plastics, right?
Correct.
Excellent. Do you have a goal to increase that from the 25% level on up?
Right now, we do not. We feel very comfortable, and we're very proud at the 25% that we're incorporating as of today. But in the future, we may want to look into increasing it, but not right now. I think we're very happy and pleased with the results that we're getting with the 25%.
Question on email too along the same lines is: are there some challenges with increasing the recycled content in your products, or is it just a matter of availability primarily and what you can get?
I think availability is one thing to note, as well as just the whole injection molded process. We want to make sure that we're not overdoing it and causing any, issues or whatnot. We haven't had anything so far, but the 25% is kind of where we want to stay at.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Well, sounds good. Has any of the Oceanbound Plastics been able to achieve FDA certification for food grade contact containers, or is that something you've been looked at?
I believe it has. I believe all of the material is certified. That question specifically is something that I'm not too quite sure on for the food grade content containers, but to my understanding, the material has been certified and whatnot. So.
Great. Another question that came in through the LinkedIn platform. Can you make any comments on adding additives, say a small amount like 1% or something, to have material like polypropylene, polyethylene decompose in landfills or in anaerobic processes? Have you thought about adding anything to the material?
Right now, that's not something that we've looked into. I'm assuming that this question relates back to understanding if they can add 1% of decomposed landfill materials into the ocean-bound material, correct? And if so, that's definitely something that we haven't looked into. I think we want to keep the ocean-bound plastic into its true form without adding anything else to it as well.
Great, exactly. That makes sense. You're probably not going to put a pallet in the land in a compost anyway. I wouldn't think that would be difficult. Another question came in from email. Based on Orbis's research, how many times can this material be recycled and used again for something else? You mentioned that it could be recycled again and kept in the circular loop, I guess, basically with it.
Yeah. So
how many times can that be done?
So for Orbis specifically, with our buyback program, where essentially we are able to buy back the packaging from our customers and continuously be able to repurpose it. So through that alone, the cycle could be endless, especially with the Oceanbound Plastics of us continuously repurposing the material at the end of its life back into new Orbis products. So.
Great. So you can recycle it into other reusable packaging, reusable pallets anyway with this?
Correct.
For really an endless amount of time.
Cycle.
Does it, and for one use of this, is there a limited number of trips that it can make as far as the pallets go, or is it similar to what you see with a virgin material or with or something else?
Right. The life of the packaging, so the pallets or the bulk containers or whatnot, would be the same as any life cycle that you would see from a pallet or bulk container with virgin, I believe. So.
Okay. Another question that came in via LinkedIn. What is the effect of suspension grade PVC resin mixed with, I don't know if we can answer this one easily, mixed with polyvinyl acetate? This seems pretty specific. I'm not sure you want to go there or not, but.
Not quite sure on that one. So I don't want to misspeak with an answer for that one. But
and that's why we'll have your contact information up there after the conference. At least that if you want to reach out directly to you guys, you can maybe get somebody to answer that one more specifically after it's over. We're winding down. We have time for one or two more questions. This one came in via email too. Are you looking into the possibility of collecting used plastics HDPE bottles from companies within North America that want to have clean chemical bottles? I know some of the companies are actively doing that. The Coca-Colas of the world. Yeah.
Yes, great question. And this is something, very important. And ocean plastics is just one small type of innovative material that we can repurpose back into our packaging. And there's so many other, different recycled content streams that we would love to get into our products. to really add to that circular economy process and reuse process. So yeah, this is definitely something that we would love to incorporate back into our packaging, and this would go through a similar process that we're doing with the Oceanbound Plastics, where we would test the characteristics of the material itself to understand how it'll run through the injection molded process and the quality of the material and whatnot. And then once we do that, we would then test the products from a quality standpoint with the material in it as well. But yeah, great question. And this is definitely something that we are actively looking into as we realize that there's a lot of different recycled material streams out there for us to utilize. And ocean plastics is great, but there's a lot of other different innovative material for us to be repurposing as well. So.
Excellent. Well, I mean, we're about ready again. I'd ask one final question. I'm just curious what prompted Orbis to get into this area. You talked about the furniture company and doing with some of them, but did Orbis see this as a priority to increase its sustainability or close a circular loop in some cases with some of this ocean-bound material?
Yeah, so definitely brought it to our attention with one of our customers, and we thought that it was just such a great initiative, and really, us being a manufacturer in plastic reusable packaging, that we really could offer this to a lot of different companies to help with their sustainability goals. But also, it's something that we're very happy and excited to be a part of, and want to be a part of. So yeah, I would definitely say that, not only for our own Orbis's sustainability goals, it has helped a lot, but also we really pride ourselves in being able to help other companies out there who are looking to increase their sustainability initiatives as well. So.
Excellent. Providing a source for that material anyway. And I imagine some of these countries where it's a difficult problem, I guess overseas, you hear about some of the issues with ocean-bound plastic in a lot of these countries anyway, developing world especially, I imagine.
Right.
Well, with that, we'll end the Ask the Expert for today, but I want to thank Breanna Herbert of Orbis for providing insights into material recovery for U.S. coastlines and all the work that's being done by Orbis in this case. Real kudos to Orbis for doing this and with this Ocean in Mind program. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to Breanna directly. And contact information, the email address is listed on the screen below. I'd also like to thank you for watching. Stay tuned for many more sessions this week at the Plastics Conference as it runs through Friday this week. Our next session will start at 2 p.m. Eastern Time today and feature our annual workshop from Nova Chemicals. This one's on packaging closures and sustainability in a post-COVID world. Until then, I'm Joe Pryweller, and I look forward to seeing you at future sessions. Have a great day.